Season 2, Episode 2 of Whistleblower Pie. For those new to the show, you can find us online at www.whistleblowerpie.com, on Facebook, Rumble, and occasionally Truth Social. For those watching who are affiliated with entities acting under rebuttable presumptions of such as the color of office and hypothecation of colorable court laws, please be advised our intent is not to offend, but to clarify. So let's mosey on up to the bar and let this declaration serve those to ensure there's no misunderstanding for select purposes here, because we're going to wet your whistle tonight. Now listen close. The statements made herein are expressed in a personal capacity, not representing any past or present employers. Our whistleblowers featured on the platform and in confidential discussions have not misrepresented themselves as government or financial institutions, nor have they provided statements without substantiation. Now, tonight's show is a hardcore reminder that rebuttable presumptions of law are not law. And where treason is involved, i.e., I was under the orders from above, well, let's just say those bar fights are just dead man walking. And of course, for our precious military brothers and sisters joining us tonight, Semper Fi, Semper Proud, Semper Fortis, Semper Doris, Semper Scumby, and of course, Semper Supra. We love you, we appreciate you, and are grateful for everything you do, and especially thank you for being with us tonight. We cannot wait for you and your superior officers to hear what we're about to say. Now, let's get into the heart of these financial warfare matters. Let's slice a piece of this injustice out of this pie and serve it up to the American people right here and right now. Our show tonight is called Foreign Investor Pie, and we are going to dive right into international trade via ownership laundering, using your individual legal titles, acting in real time to give aid to foreign nations. Oh, y'all might take notes on this one. I'm just saying. So all rise for the honorable host show, Mrs. Billy P. Billy?
Hi there, Faith. Thank you so much. That was a great introduction. We've got a great show for you tonight, folks. And if you are pure-born American blood and a patriot, you're going to love this show, because all of us are really tired about foreign investors coming over and usurping our American dreams in our lives. So tonight's show, I'm just going to tell you about me quickly. I'm a 17-year advocate for land rights and systemic cleansing of the land records with real estate and title experience, and now a victim of a foreign investor sitting on my stolen title, ownership laundering. Welcome, Mikhail Trubchik. Well, I would like to welcome him, because guess what? We did invite him. I sent him an invite to his office. We also invited Orange County DA Todd Spitzer, Mai Tai, can't make this up. No, we all need a drink right now, but Mai Tai, the owner of Quest Home Loans, Lewis Brisboe Law Firm, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, Paul Rosen, Mikhail, as I've told you, Trubchik, who is also COO of Allrise Capital, Inc., and Erica Hanachek of FACT. And she's an experienced government relation professional, proficient in U.S. anti-money laundering policy. Though they were not able to join us, we have spent many hours researching and questioning their handling and thoughts of foreign investments and land record forgeries. Because remember, without those forged land records, of which are wonderful SEC, CFPB, DAs, remember Patrick Soria, they go down for wire fraud because of the land records, but they skip a skippy-doo-dah by not arresting them also and charging them for the forgeries, which we know is a much longer sentence for the documents that they're forging, land deeds, land contracts. We got a whole toilet paper roll. And so therefore, Faith and I know, and during our cases going on, when we demanded the AG step in, well, the AG did step in and do a theater with Soria's case, but our laundry list and everyone on here was about the land record forgeries. Without those, the foreign entities, the foreign agents, the foreign investors, all of them would not be able to take our lands. And so tonight, our guests that are here are LeeAnn Atkins, Renee Wyler, Linda Nash, and Janet Hill. And they're going to be sharing some of their stories about foreign investors tonight, and some interesting pieces of pie that they have. Remember, we each have a piece of it. All of those of you sitting out there, when you listen to this show, think about how everything we're talking about affects you. Think about how it affects our country. Think about history. Think about the Civil War. Think about civil rights. Think about everything that we fought and our families have fought so hard for. And just know that we intend to make this show matter, and look forward to your thoughts in our comments as well. Be nice. And I'm going to introduce you right now to Linda Nash. Linda Nash has homeowners legal rights out of Florida, and she is wonderful. She knows a lot about the land records. Linda, go ahead and give us your opening statement, please. Hold on, you're muted, Linda. I'm unmuting you. Hang on. Well, I guess you're going to have to do it yourself. Unmute, please. There you go.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, this is mostly for people who do not know the basic laws in the land records. The laws regarding ownership and the passing or conveying of ownership title to land are so simple and so easy to understand. First, American soil can only be lawfully owned by American citizens or legally formed American businesses. The passing or conveying of title ownership, rights, and interest must be done through the properly signed and executed documents. If a property is owned by individuals, they all must sign the document along with one or two witnesses, and all the signatures must be notarized. Very simple. If the property is owned by an American business entity, the granting or conveying document must be signed by an executive who has the authority to dispose of company assets. It must contain a corporate seal, or if they do not have a corporate seal, it has to be witnessed and all signatures be notarized. Because this involves ownership of American soil, think about that. This is American soil. Filing fraudulent, forged, deceptive, misleading, improper, invalid documents filed in the public land records is not just a felony. The unlawful seizure of American soil is an act of war on this nation, its people, and its constitution, and it cannot be condoned by any government servant. And that is how simple the land records are and what your rights are. So if you start with that and you just grow from there.
I'm with you. I'm on that same page.
On.
Okay, so now the first topic of discussion.
Okay.
That brings up the Vietnamese American investor selling 3036 Killybrook Lane in Costa Mesa, California, stripping LeeAnn of her equity and land. Renee Wyler did the MERS audit and assisted LeeAnn in attempting to stop the sale. Yes, dear listeners, as a reminder, Whistleblower Pies has access to those who can do various types of audits. You just go to our site and ask. Now, LeeAnn Atkins, a landowner with 2 satisfactions of liens and no obligations owed, and yet her land was still taken and resold. The woman who participated in the sale of LeeAnn's land was Mai Tai of Quest Homes Loans in Huntington Beach, California. Renee Wyler is with us tonight. Now, Renee Wyler is a 25-year-old veteran of mortgage banking, the owner and only signing authority for Wyler Mortgage Group, LLC, an active Ohio LLC. Prior to the mortgage meltdown, her company originated millions of dollars in mortgages in both Ohio and Michigan as the original lender. Now, she intervened in the powers per share cases, and she provided the criminal claims on Atkins' property to the DA Todd Spitzer's office, investigators John Min and Leslie Young as well. She and her fellow whistleblowers have been targeted by judicial officers, state bar attorneys, and Fannie Mae in challenging their secret, undisclosed tri-party Fannie Mae agreement. LeeAnn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Faith. And thank you to all fellow whistleblowers. I am so honored to be a part of this merry band. And so thank you so much. My house was unlawfully stolen, and my children and I were evicted out 2 times. And in November of 2019, Judge Carter dismissed my case in federal court when he found out, imagine this, that I was connected to Billy Powers' case. And then I was in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I filed a case for revealing criminal activities with my house. And then Chinese national Mai Ta stole my house in November 4th of 2020. Ironically, same timing as our election was stolen, while my case was still open in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Starting November 2020, with Billy's guidance, through I think it's July of 2022, I filed between 8 and 10 long documents on the fraud and many crimes committed against me and my family, my house, and my identity to the DA, John Min, and Todd Spitzer, and others. No one in all of this time has ever contacted me back in any shape or form. Now, 2 crucial items in the filings to the DA of Orange County. In 2008, the IRS proved that I had cancellation of debt from the servicer on my house, Form 1099C, and that was in September of 2008. Number 2, there was a discharge of mortgage. So thank goodness for that. However, it didn't seem to bring anything. And then the third one, I also filed with the district attorney's office and revealed many crimes. I had a certified forensic loan audit in May of 2021, just after the house was resold by Ken Tran, and he is a real estate broker in the same city where Mai Ta is. But still, through all of this insanity and fiasco, no response by any traitorous public servants or the DA in any way. And I notified by certified mail to Mai Ta and Ken Tran in April of 2021. I informed them with certified mail that this was criminal and that they may not infringe upon my rights, that the house was a clouded title. And I certified mail that. No response. And in less than 1 month later, the house was sold. I filed criminal complaints to the California Department of Real Estate for Mai Ta, Ken Tran, and Bill Forsyth, another individual. But no response was received by me to acknowledge that they ever received my documents, except from the Department of Real Estate said, okay, we've got your documents. So are there any questions?
Yeah, I do. I forgot to ask on your when they transferred title, did they use a special warranty deed? Do you know?
I can't remember. Sorry, Billy.
That's okay. Maybe Renee can tell us. Well, I do know that when you first called me a decade ago, and we were talking about your case, that was the first thing I noticed. I mean, all of us on here, if you do title or any kind of real estate transactions, it's usually pretty quick where you can at least look at documents after all the years we were into this. And I noticed, I said, LeeAnn, there's nothing for them to take. You've got a satisfaction here. This means it was paid. It's done. It's in the land record. But she had continually had people coming after her, and I got Renee Wyler involved when we needed some MERS audits, because it was obvious to me that, and also she's Vietnamese. Mai Tai is Vietnamese, and she was not born here. She came here to the country as well and nationalized. Just so you know, we want to keep it straight. We want our Mai Tai, wherever it's coming from, to be known. So Mai Tai is a Vietnamese Mai Tai. So I don't know what kind of vodka or whatever, or rum or whatever she's got in there, but we're not drinking it.
That's right.
They think we're drinking it, but we're not drinking it. We're done. We're ready to vomit it because we've had it.
Matete, and I say matata.
You I do have a funny story. I'm going to interject. My youngest, when they took her, I was out of town and a friend had to babysit her. She took her to get her toenails done at 3 years old. And she came home speaking Vietnamese. It was hilarious. Anyhow, I had to share that because every time I think of Mai Tai in Vietnamese, I think of my little one coming home and we're all going, what the heck is she saying? Whatever she said, she actually had picked up from what they were saying to her, and she was really speaking Vietnamese. So there you go. Anyhow, so with that said, Renee, I'm going to let you take over, and maybe Renee, do you know if there was, if it was a special warranty deed that our Mai Tai and Ken Tran and Bill Forsyth used?
I don't know. I would have to go back and check. But here in Michigan, what they did, Fidelity was involved in.
Okay, just a minute then. LeeAnn, while we're doing this and you're on mute, will you just quickly look at your, look at the transfer? It would be your transfer trustee's deed upon sale, and just see how the last two deeds looked. See if it was a special warranty deed, if you have that. Thank you. Go ahead, Renee.
Here in Michigan, Fidelity will fabricate a covenant deed. It never can be a warranty deed. And what they do is they omit from the title abstract the fraudulent mortgage assignments. So that's how they clean the title, by just omitting them. So Fidelity is involved in a lot of these thefts by foreigners.
Okay, can you explain to us your call to Mai Tai and how you got involved and how you attempted? We thought, well, the best way to do this is to let Mai Tai know that maybe she's not aware that she's in the middle of a cluster bug here. Can you explain to our audience what that conversation sounded like and how you attempted to give her intent, to give her evidence of fraud and what she said, and then follow that up with when she called you back after not helping you and asked for your help for herself. So tell us that little story, please.
Well, I found out that Mai Tai is also the owner of Ta Capital. And so I informed her that I was giving her a legal notice that this was a clouded title property, and that this was not something that she needed to get involved in. She was a loan originator, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that didn't seem to faze her. What they do is they just call up the title companies and say, hey, is this a problem? Title company is Fidelity. Fidelity says, no, we'll clean the title. We'll take care of it for you. And so she went ahead with her, and I had also called the realtor, I believe, and gave him the legal notice, just like I did with your realtor, Julie Buckner. I call him up and I give him a legal notice and I say, hey, this is a clouded title property. Here are the issues. You've been given a legal notice.
Yeah, they have no deniability because everything is done. We put it on public record. We make sure that our land records have notices. We give public notices. We put them in the newspaper even. So there is no deniability, especially when we've sent cease and desist. So what were her words to you?
Well, she was just, she wasn't concerned with any of this because, the title company takes care of all their problems for them. And in fact, she went forward with the transaction, and then I guess it was a couple months later, she called me up and asked me to help her because she said the government was seizing her properties.
You can't make this up.
No, I had
Faith just fell off her chair. You can't make this up. Here's a woman who wouldn't listen. Come on, Faith. I'm so glad you didn't have a drink while you out the nose it would have come. Because this gets to the point, Renee, where we literally, it's only water. Well, I've got a Diet Dr. Pepper, so here's a pepper, be a Dr. Pepper.
I turned her into the feds. I'm not sure what agency, whether it was the SEC. It might have been the SEC or the DOJ. I'm not sure.
No, it was everybody, because you and I made sure we got everybody notified.
Yeah,
we pulled out the punches.
Base, right?
Yep.
I have those. I saved all those emails, so we have a paper trail that's quite lengthy on ITA and her illegal activities.
And what was the agent? Was Ken Tran the agent, or was it Bill Forsyth? Do you remember?
Bill Forsyth was kind of a mystery man that,
was he the well-dressed guy that kept showing up?
Yes, Billy.
Ah,
yes, he's the well-dressed silk European suit fiasco.
Yeah.
So-
And by the way, where he worked is a high-class European Newport Beach firm. It's international.
All I
Definitely.
remember is I asked you what kind of shoes he had on because I'm always looking at their shoes. They show up to these things with like $1,200 pair of shoes on. It's trying to kick you out of your home. So, Faith, go ahead.
No,
I
that
know
would
you.
have been Ken Tran.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing to Tao. Come on, man.
Okay, so Renee, I got.
By the way, in Vietnamese, that means professional. Thank you.
Well, you and my then 3-year-old would probably be the only ones on the show that would have known what that means, because I think that's what she kept saying over and over, only nicely. Thank you. So cute as heck, though, isn't that? I mean, but what we see here is this is another pattern, because we found out Mai Tai, Ken Tran, Bill Forsyth, they have all these LLCs, all these holding companies. I swear to God, they must all be designing clothes too, because it's amazing the things they come dressed in. Nice cars. So they come dressed to the nines, driving very expensive vehicles. They have tons of, at least a dozen LLCs between them, if not more. Some I've seen having 36 at a time between the conglomerates. So it's very incestuous, actually, because a lot of these people are related, married, related, ex-wives, wives, husbands, sister-in-laws. So there's a lot of relations, and they make it appear as if these people all work for all these different companies, when in fact there's one umbrella and they all are there. So they're all hiding under the rain in one umbrella, but it's different raindrops hitting them.
It's silly. What they do is use these LLCs for only a year or two, and then they pop into another one.
Yeah, a lot of them they bankrupt. Bankruptcy is a big part of this. So, okay, so let's go ahead, LeeAnn. Thank you very much. We'll get back with you later in the show too. If you find that deed, let me know, because a special warranty deed is used when there is cloud on title here in California. When they know there's issues with title and they can't get insurance, they'll use a special warranty deed. So Mikhail Trubchik, when he was put on my title after 3 years of Julie trying to sell my property, when he was put on title, he's on with a special warranty deed, which on the face of it says that they're aware that there's claims against the title. And I'm not even only claiming, I know it's my title that he's sitting on. So let's go into the foreign investor part. Okay, I've reviewed documents and spoke with many parties in Washington. And for our listeners, this is a very important part of the show. You're going to say, how does this matter to land records? Well, foreign investors matter to land records because foreign investors don't just buy our properties. They use our properties to launder funds for which they're doing crypto mining. They're doing all these different clothing, telecommunications, all AI. They're doing all these different companies, and they're funding them, a lot of them, through the taking of our homes, much like when Obama, through the secure system, laundered $500 billion worth of our GSEs overseas. That's how they do it. And that's why it's important. If you're listening to this, you need to understand that Allrise Capital, Inc. is not an anomaly. But I'm going to share with you some very interesting findings. I had no idea what Bitcoin mining was. But when I started doing some research, and we have Melanie, thank you, Cynthia, thank you. We've had a lot of people in the background helping with some research. But there's an article, and hopefully, Faith, maybe we can figure out how to put that article into our Rumble or onto our site. But it's called "When Power is Cheap, Crypto Moves In." And this is all about Allrise Capital and their incorporated and their subsidiaries, because there's many different names, but I'm just going to stick to using Allrise Capital because they're the tier one. The Russian man who became nationalized, again, this is a pattern with the foreign investors. I don't know how they get fast-tracked like they do to U.S. Citizenship. They're not just, I mean, it's almost as if they are walking across our borders and claiming to be able to be here and get their $100 ATT card and everything else too. It's mind blowing. Anyone
current administration, Billy. I mean,
yeah,
every person that comes in is
well,
you know,
yeah, but they came in. They've been doing this. They've been coming in since these parties that we're talking about tonight. All of them started companies between 2015 and 2019. So it's been, it has to be well orchestrated as well. But the article that really caught my attention was I ended up on a blog. It was called Project Pinned Oriole. And what it was about this paper mill. And this paper mill was going bankrupt in this town in Washington. And the paper mill had been there forever. I mean, I've got notes. I've talked to people. I've got this whole book is full of notes just about this project. And so this paper mill ended up going bankrupt. It had been there, since ages ago. And a mainstay of the community on the river, beautiful property, beautiful surroundings. It's in a town too it's a really well-to-do town. There's no, the crime rate's low, the income per capita is high, the people are professionals. It's a really nice community. I mean, I'm listening to it going, geez, maybe I ought to look there to live, because it's starting to sound like California needs to get the heck out. But this project, the paper mill went bankrupt, and they had people coming in bidding like you would in a trustee kind of situation in a sale. One of the bidders was the actual tribal community, which most of us I know would agree that, hey, if the land's for sale and the tribal community wants to buy it, considering their land surround it, this might be the win-win. They're going to take care of the land. Yes, they, let the tribal community buy it. But unbeknownst to the tribal community, a commissioner and his wife, who became a commissioner, let's just say she got a little bit of a promotion once this deal went through. 3 days before the ending, they just slid in a bid. Now, anyone out there who's done business, if you've ever gone to borrow money or open a business, even to get a lease, they're going to want to know your business plan. They're going to want to know how much money you're going to spend, how you're going to do this. You've got to be very specific, your financials, who's going to be part of the business, anybody on here. It's the normal stuff they want for your business platform. But the simplest part of it is they want your business plan. Well, the thing that caught my attention in all of these pages of notes was Allrise Capital never had a business plan. And yet, very shortly after their bid was accepted, Beijing Bitmain comes in as a $290 million investor. Seriously? Okay. $290 million, they don't even have a business plan? They have no idea. They hadn't even have the electricity set in stone yet. They had no idea where the electricity was coming from. Now, mind you, the PUD there's only enough electricity because, again, it's a small unincorporated area. The electricity that feeds the town, they would have to pull from. So therefore, they had to figure out where else to go. But before they even closed and said yes to this deal, they had no idea where. There was nothing in stone. And the one company they ended up going to look for, now mind you, Bitmain comes in, they're saying they got $290 million invested in this. We've got Mikhail Trubchik, COO, signing things. And I actually have a document that's really interesting that I found by way of don't ask me. It's like it just appears sometimes. But I found a document that clearly states that one of their parties involved is from a country that you can't do business in the U.S. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, first of all, they have no business plan. Second of all, we've got question about where all this money's coming from. The owner of Allrise is a Russian. COO is Slovakian. And yet they're all U.S. citizens. Okay. But most of them weren't U.S. citizens much before all of this. And Mikhail Trubchik's only 39 now. So he was a very young man to be dealing in millions of dollars. Mind you, they were also dealing with buying the sports stadium in the Ukraine out of BK. So start doing patterns here, folks. You're going to see this isn't just Allrise. This is a pattern of how business is done. They're buying these companies out of BK. Then they're forming companies that are going to be mining Bitcoin. And Beijing Bitmain, a Chinese company who is one of the biggest cryptocurrency of the 7, they're in the top 7, is giving $290 million to this project. So I start sitting down, I go, that's a lot of money. So as I'm talking, I said, how much are these machines? They didn't know how much they were spending on anything. So this is not a legit deal. It's factually fraud on the face. It's faulty right on the face of this deal. So how did they get, boom, approved? Well, you got a commissioner, his wife, and other people somewhere who pushed this deal through, because on its face, anybody in there that knows anything about just saying, okay, we've got concerns about those who from the countries that we shouldn't be doing business with involved. But because they say U.S. citizen, we're going to be able to, okay, I'm not buying that. There's no business plan. And then when they find out that they can't get the, and I want to tell you who this company is. Hang on, I'm going to find this note because this was very, very interesting. Brookfield Renewable is an energy company in Washington, and Allrise approached them. Shall I say, also, I've been told they've been very heavy-handed in all of their negotiations, and threats have been made against people. So we're dealing with people who must be throwing money around to get people to agree to do stuff. And that's just my opinion. I might be wrong, but boy, on the face of it, it sure looks like it. So Brookfield Renewable had to do a know your client, is what I'll call it. When they're going to go into business with somebody, they have to do due diligence. Obviously, Beijing Bitman doesn't do due diligence because they don't even care if you have a business plan. So, but Brookfield Renewable cared. And they did not find Allrise Capital to be a company they wanted to do business with. They said no. So at that point, there was no energy for them to use, because the energy they need to run the crypto mine, they wanted free, basically. They wanted it at the cost, and they wanted it to come from the electricity that's supposed to go to the people of the city. So for a while, they actually did get some of that. So the people of the town were paying for this. Now, I've also asked for people to check into easements on this property, because what we also find is that the easements, there's recorded easements, there's recorded problems with these easements, and ownership goes back and forth between those two while these deals are going on. So they get the stadium done, that multi-million-dollar stadium out of BK, where lots of articles were written. Then they get this deal, no business plan, $200 million, $90 million from Bitman, nowhere to get electricity. And as of last August, they hadn't even started up the computers. So, okay, ladies, what's the first thing? I've talked to all of you. The first thing all of us have said, this was a BK plan. This was a bankruptcy plan right from the get-go. It's a money laundering scheme. What I figured out in numbers was the $290 million is Beijing Bitman's machines. That's their retail value of their crypto machines, of all of the mining machines. And if you go and look at pictures and go in and just Google Allrise Capital and Pinned Oregon, or go to the Pinned Project, the Project Pinned Oriole. And so they have no energy. They can't even mine. And from what I comprehend, now, mind you, a bankruptcy plan is usually an 18 to 36 month deal with these schemes, with these Ponzi schemes. So in Bitcoin, by chance, from what I'm comprehending, I may be wrong, but this was my comprehension, has an 18 to 36 month life. It's a perfect marriage to buy something out of bankruptcy. And then you're going to bankrupt it again, because guess what? They're losing money. They're saying they've lost, from actuality, maybe 70 million so far. Okay, I did the math. Guess how much that $290 million worth of equipment is probably at cost for Beijing? Probably about 70 million for them to make it. So you got 290 million on a bottom line here that they're claiming they've invested, when really they're investing the machinery. And the funds from the Bitcoin mining, which, for those of you who don't know what Bitcoin mining is, I too thought I could see a little man with a hat, it's nothing like that. It's all computers, and it's all just hot air. Bitcoin has no value. It's just what they're trading it. It's not backed by anything. Okay. So if it's not backed by anything, but you give it a monetary value and now you're claiming losses, you have a way to at least make it look like you've lost that. So 290 million, put the machines in. Guess where the first funds go for the Bitcoin that they were supposed to mine? It would have gone straight to Beijing. And then the commission, basically, is what it is, would have gone to Allrise. So in my mind, I said, well, that sounds more like Beijing Bitmain owns the project, and that Allrise Capital is on there as a placeholder for ownership. Linda, can we say title laundering? Ownership laundering? So I wasn't told that was wrong, but that's kind of been the thoughts all along. So in my thoughts, this deal was dead when it started. Funds were passed along. When you BK and say you've got a $70 million loss, and then you can show at retail it was $290 million. So the insurance, we're going to give them the benefit that they'll get 50% of the insurance, right? Because it's a bad deal as an investment. So we're talking $145 million. So if you get a $70 million loss on paper and $145 million gain from insurance, where's the loss? This was a big Ponzi scheme. You know where the loss is? And I highly suggest if anybody from Washington is listening to me from that area, get a hold of your tribal council. Get a hold of the tribe that was trying to buy this property lawfully and on the up and up. Because this contract, in my opinion, was bullshit. I'm going to use that every show. I think I like that word. Because there is no way. And now, guess what? They're using water from the river, of which, guess what? They own that part of the river. So Chinese Bitmain is also ownership of part of the river when they invested in this project. I believe they're the actual owner.
Billy,
So,
I love you, but I don't think I can say welcome to bullshit pie.
well, let me finish here before I lose my thought again, because now I'm going to go sideways. So the water that they take and use becomes hazardous waste on the other side. They had no hazardous waste plan. So this water, this hazardous liquid, is now in pools on that land. It's not being contained. It's in pools. So what does that mean? It's, in my thought, because I had a well, it's seeping into the ground. Now they filed BK in the next year, which may be sooner, maybe 18 months. I don't know. But when they file bankruptcy, guess what? They leave the machines behind too. 18,000 of them. That's huge if you go look at the picture. So now it goes BK, and now they say, oh, tribal family, you can come in now and buy it. They can't afford, you know how many millions of dollars it's going to cost to clean that project up? So to recap, and then I'm done with this part of it. They have no business plan. Beijing Bitman comes in and says they're giving them $290 million as an investment. That's not true. That's a retail on their computers. Allrise doesn't have any energy in writing. The one company that they threatened that they wanted to give them energy wouldn't do business with them because they saw what they were looking at, and they knew too, anybody with half a brain can see. But those people who allowed it to happen had it happen really quick and under the table. This should have never, ever been allowed. Now I found it interesting, before I go on to the next part, is today there was a report released. And this is really, really important, people, because we're talking this cryptocurrency. This is one of the major money laundering schemes. And Beijing Bitmain is one of the top owners. I mean, Beijing, we're talking buying up land, by lakes, by rivers, doing unbelievable things to the land, leaving hazardous waste that's in millions of dollars, not even contained. And the Office of the Director of National Intelligence of the United States of America released their annual threat assessment. And I have to pull this up and just read just a little bit of this to you. And this is a little longer today, but I hope you're kind of letting this sink in, because China is one of our biggest threats. So I'm just putting crypto into this not 41 page. Okay, there's 4 mentions of crypto. Okay, so we're going to go there and we're going to go there. Okay, technology. China is making progress in producing advanced chips for cryptocurrency mining and cellular devices at the 7 nanometer level using existing equipment, but will face challenges achieving high quality, high volume production of cutting edge chips without access to projected to be produced extreme ultraviolet lithography tools. By 2025, 40% of all 28 nano legacy chips are projected to be produced in China, judging from the number of new factories expected to begin operating during the next 2 years. Cyber. North Korea will continue its ongoing cyber campaign, particularly cryptocurrency heists, seek a broad variety of approaches to launder and cash out stolen cryptocurrency, and maintain a program of IT workers serving abroad to earn additional funds. And the S&P is involved in this too. This Standards and Poor, and for anybody who follows Judge Carter's sledgehammer antics, he also handled the Standards and Poor here in Orange County case, and it was rather interesting. So TCOs still rely on traditional money laundering methods and bulk cash smuggling operations to repatriate drug proceeds from the United States, while some money launderers are using cryptocurrency transactions.
So what we're telling the intelligence agency is, hey guys, this is moose turd pie. It's good though.
Turd pie, love it. So that kind of gave my roundup about Allrise, but I'm going to finish off with telling you that their COO, Mikhail Trubchik, ended up on my title in February of 2023. After 3 years of Julie Bruckner attempting to sell my property, that same month in that February, Renee Wyler made a phone call to her. Renee, will you come on and just tell your details of that conversation with Lori Bruckner of Trop Producers Realty and Havapad Realty in Arizona?
Yes, Billy. What I did is I called her up, got her on the phone, and I told her that, I was going to give her a legal notice that the property was not only clouded, but it was landlocked. Remember?
Yeah, and she had already admitted that 3 years prior when she couldn't sell the property. And that was the one thing that I couldn't get the title insurance company to represent. And they took my property as a landlocked property that I couldn't even sell. So I was in a catch-22, and none of them admitted that until she put it in writing herself in the ad to sell my property.
Yes, she did. She did. She put it in writing. So I gave her the legal notice, and I also the next day gave the Orange County DA a call, and let I think it was Spitzer that I called and left a message for. That we hadn't gotten any answers into your situation with the deed fraud in Orange County, and never got a call back from him. But I did mention that this realtor knew about the issues regarding the deed fraud and the landlocked property, and she appeared to not be fazed because, there was a title company that was going to...
Yeah, but didn't she tell you she had no idea, that she didn't know what you were talking about?
You mean, did she tell me I did?
When you called her to give her that information, she told you that, didn't she tell you she had no idea what you were talking about, that she had no idea there were problems with the title?
No, I don't believe she acted like she didn't know anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. She acted like she had no idea of any of this, because I remember when you called me, yeah.
And I told her, I was a realtor years ago, and that if there is any type of defect that you are aware of on a property, that you need to tell the buyer about that. That's something that a realtor has to disclose.
And she didn't. And guess what? Just to let you know, also, since they're not able to mine in the Washington thing, they've now moved 12,000 additional Beijing Bitmain computers to South Carolina. onto a new project for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin mining. And they're also looking at a project in Oregon. So we're looking at foreign investors who are coming in, buying up our properties, buying properties or alleging they're buying properties like mine. My $1.7 million beautiful home that I put over almost $1 million into myself through my own means, he bought for alleged $500,000. Landlocked property, nobody's in it, and he's sitting there. And again, now they've got, he's involved. Oh, and he is the proud owner of a Ukrainian women's football, which is soccer team that plays in the Ukrainian stadium that Allrise bought out of bankruptcy under a lot of clouds. So these people are moving into our country. They're stealing our lands, our lives, our homes, our dreams, everything we own, and laundering it right back over. So Russian money comes in and US goes out. A lot more than came in.
You know, Billy, this sounds like the Goshen project, the battery plant in Goshen, Michigan, where, the Chinese and Ford were supposed to build this battery plant. And then somehow Ford pulled out. The commissioners all of the local township, they're all, approved this project. And then Ford moves out, and then you're left with a plant run by the Chinese, and now they're wondering what's going to happen with their water.
And guess what we've talked about ever since the beginning? And Carol and I, when we originally did Two Moms on a Burro, we found, and you and I, and you found in yours too, the water. It's always around the water sources. So now we got Chinese ownership appearing to be Chinese ownership when Allrise is kind of like the place card holder as owner. And they're buying up where they have the ownership of the rivers and the technology and leaving us with the hazardous waste. They are the hazardous waste. These companies are the hazardous waste of our lands. And Linda, I think you and I, when we were talking, we started talking, and it was funny because you and Renee in the same day asked me about solar panels. And I even had issues with solar panels because I know doing title work, when there's solar panels involved, you have, and thank you, Gavin Newsom, because guess who manufactures all of the solar panels in California? China. You can't make this stuff up, people. So you have.
No, you can't.
You can't.
What was that nickname for him? New scum?
New scum. But it's very serious because your title gets clouded with ownership, with liens from these solar panels, cell towers too, by the way. It's a lot involved.
I didn't say that.
No, you
I'm
didn't.
just a messenger.
But these contracts go on your property and they have to be paid. If you don't pay them, guess what? What would you think if they're not getting paid, Faith? What are they going to do? They're going to come and take the equipment. But somehow I know it's also turned into people losing their entire homes.
Well, there's a lot more to it than that, obviously. I mean, you're talking about...
That's right. They never intend to.
Yeah, you're not talking about the water supply. You're talking
They
about
never intend to.
Yeah, no, we're talking about solar panels now, because that was also because this show is about telling people how it's not, the land records are not just about your deed and your first trust deed and your warranty deeds. It's also about those liens, those pesky liens that China equipment has on your solar panels, on your home.
And the Green New Deal and the lithium the lithium batteries that go back into the China copper names. I know, I do it. I do get it.
Yeah,
Believe me, I do. China tends to earn like billions and trillions of dollars. I get that too. And I understand the investigations that are going on with the current investigation under the President Biden. I get that as well. There's a lot more to the laundering to it than just the control of the food and water supplies and the power grid. This is about domination. This is about complete insurgency and invasion that has been taking place. And people, when they listen to something like this, they don't quite make that jump because they think of you as, oh God, just another conspiracy theory freaking outlet. Oh, they're venting. Look at these old ladies. They're just biddies. It is a lot deeper than that. And I'll go to it when we get to me.
Okay. Linda, you had asked me about the solar panels, and go ahead and just give a quick little about that, because I know this is going to resonate with people who have no idea that, holy crap, China does have a lien on my property.
Right. The solar panels are made in China. And in the state of Florida, where I am, the governor of Florida has decided you can all have free panels. However, you must have a specific company install them. There is a tremendous price for this, but you don't have to worry about it because they will make it affordable by monthly payments, which coincidentally come to just slightly less than you're paying the utility now. And what happens is they install those panels. If you don't pay the loan, they don't come and take the panels back. Now they can take your home. But as long as those panels exist, they give you enough panels so that not only are you paying them for the privilege of having solar, but your extra solar energy goes to them. They sell it to the energy company. In my case, that would be Duke Energy. So they are profiting, and I am paying them to get to profit. And it's attached to your home. Like I say, they're not gonna, the governor who provided you free solar panels now has a claim on your property and your house, which needs to be passed on should you sell it. This is the only claim government can have on your property. Would have a lot to do with it, would have everything to do with eminent domain. This is a really strange form of eminent domain for them to maintain control that way.
Well,
and that's why they do.
And we know per following these documents that they're being recorded via electronic recordation through the interfacing software that also ties into Orange County, California, LA, Riverside, and San Diego. So this is going to be a big topic to roll into our secure pie, not so insecure, not so secure. We're going to move on right now to Janet Hill. Janet is out of Georgia, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and give us a little bit about yourself there, Janet, and thank you for joining us. You have to unmute. Janet. Let's give her a second. Let's see if I can unmute her. Yeah, Janet, you have to unmute yourself, hon. There she is. We can't hear you, Janet. Okay, well, we're going to have to move on. If Janet can get on after Faith is done, then we'll go ahead and let her take behind Faith. So, Janet, if you can get on, just hold on, and after Faith and before Linda finishes with final thoughts, we'll go ahead and bring you back on. So, dear Faith, give us your slice.
Okay. Well, dear listeners, if this isn't sinking in yet, then understand this really isn't about grand larceny, fraud, forgery, plunder, or even economic infringement. What we're witnessing here, and helpless really to defend against it, it's called financial warfare. And what is transpiring is now a clear act of war. There's no blunt or other straightforward or roundabout fluffy way to say it. Okay, well, consider this, and I'm gonna just kind of justify this here. Despite any personal views, regardless, it's not about rights or lefts, it's about right and wrong. Okay, Biden's recent State of the Union address echoed partisan sentiments, okay, emphasizing foreign aid of war efforts and promoting a narrative of civil unrest, alongside for proposals for higher taxes on the wealthy for now. And these are parallels to the priorities that impact all the citizens. It's the same type of parallels to the Roosevelt's 1941 address, which is very striking. Economic civil unrest, the war drums, and the prioritization of the current administration to go, give aid to foreign. Okay, and what happened 7 years later was World War II. It's no joke. We are heading to World War III. Signs are there, writings on the wall. And while we will delve into secure an acronym shortly, but in the next segment, but let's discuss what got us here. I mean, I want to touch briefly on Operation Tumors, which represents the trademark and uniform mortgage electronic registration system initiated prior to 1999. Briefly, before we go into remedy, I know this operation because I was an unknowing Wells Fargo beta tester for the direct underwriter member bank software, aka DUMB, DUM. It's a candidate locator, which unbeknownst to me at the time would be the ownership, laundering, and human trafficking part connected to what many listeners might connect to as the 16-year plan. Now, rest assured, there are many other plans, okay? Our 10b5 audits reveal that any MERS-related document operates within a trademark system, treating MERS as the assumptive borrower under the UCC laws. These audits also uncovered incidents where individuals' own credit was lent back to them, implicating them in ownership laundering and tax evasion. This administration's involvement in such activity predicates their current rhetoric spanning for decades. This is not just a new thing. This has been going on for a very, very long time. Now, these credit lines, what people need to realize, they're backed by the full faith and credit of the United States of America. Involuntarily converted funds into undisclosed income for individuals. These so-called loans were merely net tandem advances laundered through a French LLE structure known, and pardon my French for my pronunciation, but pardon my French, as a Société Anonyme, which translates into Anonymous Person of Society, as an LLC, which enables legal ownership, contract participation, and liability for crimes under the UCC borrower, assumed that MERS became the beneficiary there too. Okay, this undisclosed partnership arrangement made this trademark the actual security instrument instead of the dirty deed itself that was traded internationally. This is what people have to understand. This is an international trade going on. And we know it's an international trade when you get these recordations. You can see timelines and time dates, especially on the notice of default. It'll say, on such and such a date on a Sunday, which there's no trading on Sunday except for across seas.
And we know that a lot of these things are recorded all at the same time.
Exactly.
At 8 o'clock at night, at 8 o'clock in the morning, at 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. How is this happening at the county recorder's office?
Well, yeah. See, here's the thing, though. This trademark process, effectively enabled individuals to become congressional co-signers against the credit. Congressionally enabled. And we outline that on our website, Billy. We go down in detail what was passed, which means that there is no state anywhere, no state in this nation that has a jurisdiction to actually adjudicate upon these illegal foreclosures that are taking place. And I cite this. I always go into 28 Code, 1338, patents, copyright, trademarks, and unfair competition. Under Section A, it says that these issues, which are trademarked, cannot be held in states. Okay, and what this means to the viewer who's kind of just listening in this going 1099C, 1099, what? It's a 1099. No, it's an abandonment of partnership. They're canceling what you abandoned. Okay, that's why you're getting a C and not an A, and why they can't do anything about it, because no actual mortgage existed anywhere, not just in our nation, but worldwide. Now let that sink in. These tandem net advances were made against an undisclosed partnership arrangement, leaving the individuals responsible for that involuntary conversion to income that they cashed out as the full good faith estimate value against the credit of the United States of America. And these 1099As, 1099Cs, partnership interests, they're never disclosed initially. And it's all done by a season, spelled SEISEN, okay? That refers to a season of property done during times of war. You don't believe me? You can go right on the deed of trust. Every deed of trust has that misspelling, but it's not a misspelling. It's willful.
Well, and that actually ties into our foreign investors because they are using this platform as well. And this is why this ties in. Let me ask quickly, Janet, are you back?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Faith, can we let Janet
I'll step out and come back.
No, but I want that tumors. This is very interesting too, is that the names that are given these platforms tell you what they are right on the face. A tumor, and you got to be dumb not to know it, right, Faith?
No, the dumb refers to something else, and we go into that into our child trafficking.
I just meant that they're the name, yeah. You know, they dumb, tumors. I mean, this is cancerous. It's cancerous for us. Okay, Janet, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead because we're getting close to the end here. We're winding it down, and we want to hear about your experience. Janet, thank you so much. You've been a part of many of all of our lives on this show, and you work tenaciously in Georgia, and you and Renee have done amazing work in Georgia together. And boy, I'll tell you, Fannie Willis is small claims compared to what you found. Give us a listen about something you found too on your international issues.
Okay, ladies, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I have been dealing with this issue for close to 12 years now. I am a senior property owner in Fulton County, Georgia since 1999. Was been stalked, abused, had my property stolen, my identity stolen, property destroyed, my civil rights and constitutional rights deprived, and live in constant fear of not just my life, but the lives of my family and my associates. The background story is that research indicates that deed fraud, property theft, identity theft, and other offenses are rampant and have been normalized in the state of Georgia. According to Forbes financial analysts, Kiplinger financial analysts, the state of Georgia ranks number 1, 2, or 3 nationally for fraud in the country. Susan Property Management, aka Juan Silk Sale, and her family members, Daniel Sale, Joseph Sale, and co-conspirators boldly filed fraudulent deed records associated with over 100 transactions in the state of Georgia with assistance from government resources. These fraudulent deeds alleging cash transactions in millions of dollars trace back to what is non-existent zombie entities with no trace of any cash at all. Open records requests and freedom of information requests have fallen on deaf ears, yet public records show multiple fake lawsuits have been filed against homeowners to steal their land, primarily targeting seniors, women, minorities, veterans, which are federally protected classes and most vulnerable populations. There's a systemic problem in Fulton County, Georgia, where officials like Chief Magistrate Judge Cassandra Kirk, the former clerk of the courts, Tina Robinson, and her predecessor, Shay Alexander, Fulton County Commissioners Natalie Hall, Rob Pitts, and attorney Christopher York have been personally noticed of these egregious private land fraudulent transactions and recordations in the court records as well as the land records, reflecting serial crimes and incestuous activity, which are violations of the state and federal constitution, using suppression of civil rights, fake writs, threats, stalking for hire, and admission of stalking for hire in the courts while these people are under oath, using guns, covered license plates, utilizing government resources across state lines. Within days of receiving notice from whistleblower Renee Wyler of fraudulent land records associated with Patrick Soria, a cyber attack was announced here in the state of Georgia, Fulton County, and remains in effect to this day. And Fulton County is now saying they're not sure what personal information has been destroyed and or released. So to our viewers, I just have to say that these crimes are being committed in open court. It's not just happening, as we also know, in the dark web. It is happening right in front of our eyes in open daylight.
Janet, do you was it Chinese involvement on yours?
I don't know what their actual nationality is, but they are of some Asian descent. Yes.
Okay.
So Juan Sok Seo, Daniel Seo, Joseph Seo, who I've seen personally, they're all of Asian descent. Yes.
Okay. And we know that they had a lot of LLCs and different companies too, correct?
Yes, I've identified the one of the major ones, but the second one is an actual church, which is a nonprofit. And when I contacted the IRS to get a copy of their statement for their, I think it's called a 990, it showed that the church as a 501c3 had never been approved. Hello?
Yeah, and yet they were allowed to take your home. Even though that business may have had a license, the fact that they fraudulently are running other businesses and that you've claimed forgeries upon the record and everything else should have been an indication. Renee Wyler, did you want to say anything about Georgia since you were part of that with Janet?
Yeah, I sent a little email to the Chief Judge Cassandra Kirk on behalf of Atkins and Hill, her assignment. And I'd also given her the FHFA suspension of the Bank of New York Mellon trustee, which was one of the many companies or entities that Patrick Soria, this 35-year-old man, created. And she apparently took this very seriously. Is that correct, Janet?
Well, I have not heard from the magistrate court judge. However, she presented to the commissioners and is now asking for a new clerk of courts, because the previous clerk of courts, I should say, let me correct myself. The current clerk of court, her role is she has a dual role, not only as the clerk of the courts, but she's also over the land records. So now mysteriously, this magistrate judge, which is a lower court administrative judge, wants a different clerk. And this issue has been going on between the chief judge and the clerk for over 6 years. The chief judge actually sued the clerk of the courts who's over the land records a couple years ago, and she eventually resigned.
Boy, it's a good thing a judge did it, right? Because you and I, Faith, Linda, we go in, LeeAnn, Renee, nothing to see here, move along.
Right.
Because you're failing to state a claim for which relief can be granted in a jurisdiction they have no authority under.
Well, what's interesting, but here's what's interesting. Her lawsuit was not successful. The lawsuit was not successful.
Where's that judge now?
Well, the judge is still there, but my point is, for some strange reason, her lawsuit was not successful, and she had to go to a second step and created a petition where the other judges had to sign. And once that petition went out, then the clerk of the courts resigned and retired.
I can tell you why that happened. It's called a business charter, and it's called risk management. They have procedures that they have to follow. Even a judge who wants to get rid of somebody, it's just a corporate structure. So they have to follow a corporate structure through HR and everything else to get rid of an employee. That's basically what he was doing. He was trying to fire an employee where he didn't have the authority to do that. So
actually, let me correct you. The clerk of the court that's over the land records, that is an elected official.
I know, but it's also an official that can be removed, even though it's by the people. There has to be, if fraud is found, it doesn't take the people to have to do a vote to get rid of him. So that's why you'll find that what the judge did was he couldn't fire her, but they had to go through HR. And so basically she stepped down from the duty of the job, because if she didn't step down, she would have lost all of her retirement. So that's why they did it that way. It's just a typical corporate structure. So people think
they just retire.
Yeah, they just retire people. You know, they just retire them. So, Janet, thank you so much for adding that. And I look forward to actually going in a little more in depth if you're available. And I'm sorry about your mom right now, but I hope she's doing okay. And next week, I hope to have you back on. But for now, we're going to let Faith finish, because we wanted to hear your story, and we're at our time limit. So Faith is going to give us the end of it. Linda's going to close us out, and then I'm going to give you a heads up about next week. So Faith, take it away, darling.
Okay, well, we were talking about reverse engineering. When it comes to reverse engineering, numerous approaches can be pursued once the nature of these dirty deeds is comprehended as a unilateral contract of conveyance. You know, it could be contended that warranty deeds establish abstracts on title that can never be perfected, and you can require a request for conditions subsequent prior, to produce the accounting. And you can go cite cases as Wyman's versus Castrol, or explore Kessler's work on the contracts of adhesion, thoughts about, contractual freedom. But understand that these people who are participating in these land grabs, like Allrise and Soria, along with many other low-hanging fruits, being both inserted and encouraged to effectively engage in treason, yet only be prosecuted for really unprosecutable actions like the title frauds and whatnot, to divert this unconscionable knowledge. Companies like the one we're talking about tonight are laundering proceeds from these dirty deeds clearly into foreign support. I mean, this is aiding and abetting foreign entities. Okay, so returning to this discussion, our proposed remedy is firmly rooted in the legal framework outlined by pertinent Treasury statutes and regulations. A critical aspect of this framework is the absence of the Form 2848, the power of attorney. Remember Operation Power of Attorney? Yeah. And the trustee authorization forms, these T2s, which signifies trustee authorization under 17 CFR 260.5b under lowercase b-1 of the Trust Indenture Act. We've said this before. I want to emphasize that our intention, again, is not to cause offense, but rather to provide clarification. So, Billy, let me be unequivocally clear about the auditable forms that these duly appointed trustees would need to furnish through a Treasury audit via subpoenaed IRS court dunning reports, because they are a corporation and they are subject to their own filings. Okay, it's crucial to remember there's no statute of limitations on defalcation of public trust. And just for clarity, this message is directed to our FinCEN, Treasury, and White House allies who are watching us here tonight. So keep up, everybody. I'll be speaking both briefly and very fast. For recompense purposes, the duly appointed trustees must provide the following in their REMIC financial returns, including but not limited to Form 1098 for mortgage interest, 1120 for net gain or loss, Form 4562 for depreciation, and IRC Section 957 C2B, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can actually go in and further, due to their failure to provide the undisclosed partnership grant or agreement, Form 1060. Okay, report full ownership of the promissory note, Form 4797. Okay, with the attached Form 1120 for U.S. corporation income tax, Form 1125 or 1125E for compensation of officers, taxes, and license interest under the look back method. because again, no statute of limitation on defalcation of public trust here, guys. Okay, with the attached 8697, 454, 452 for corporate report of non-dividend distributions, failure to report accounting methods, Form 851, and affiliated schedule for each subsidiary of Form 8281. I could go on and on and on into the foreign entity aspect of what they have to do, but I'm not going to, because at the end of the day, they're all foreclosing on the value of zero, meaning they depreciated everything off to zero. That is where they get their redepreciation or reconstitution, by pretending there's a value where none exists.
Holy moly, mother, take a breath. Man, woman, thank you. You know, I did tell you to make sure and stay under a certain time. You sure did it. And for those listening who comprehend what she just said, it matters. And the reason a lot of us don't always understand it is because Faith was there when a lot of this was created. So she can ramble this stuff off because she knows exactly what happened. She was tricked into doing what she did. And she knew, and she still knows. That's why poor Faith spent a lot of years getting beat up, spit out, and trampled, and everything stolen.
Family, yes.
Yep. So, you know, this woman
running out for my life 2 states away, you know.
Yep. So we've all experienced some horrific things. So let's, Linda, I'm going to give you, first of all, I'm unmuting you. Then you're going to have the floor. You may have to unmute. Yep, you're unmuted. So, and I know you will not.
No, I think I'm unmuted, and I wish I could talk as fast as Faith, but I can't. I just want to sum things up because I want to go all the way back to what I told you about the land records and how simple lawful conveyance is. And we know that our government is involved up to their eye teeth in this. So I wanted to leave you with a thought from Justice Scalia from the United States Supreme Court, God rest his soul, made some comments in a case that is just so vitally important. And strangely enough, it was a case sent to that court from Florida, where I live. And what he said was, it would be absurd to allow the state to do by judicial decree what the taking clause forbids it to do by legislative fiat. In sum, the taking clause bars the state from taking any private property without paying for it, no matter which branch of the instrument does the taking. To be sure, in a manner, the state action may matter. Condemnation by eminent domain is always an example of taking, while legislative, executive, and judicial restrictions of property use may or may not be, depending on the nature that exists. He went on to say something else, and that is, if the legislature or the court declares that what was once established as a right of private property no longer exists, it has been taken. And that property, no less than if the state had physically appropriated it and destroyed its value. Just want to let you know.
And what else did he say?
Every bit of those properties.
He said he added
the property in Washington. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just before you finish, he also stated that the Constitution is not a living document. And I love that quote from him. The Constitution is not a living document. Go ahead, Lynn. I'm sorry I interrupted, but that's a very, very important point to add on to what he just said there.
Yeah. And again, it's just to round things back up. The property transactions that you're talking about in Washington, in California, in Michigan, in Georgia, they were so bad, they could not file even what looked to be a lawful document in the land records in these transactions. And again, what's required is so simple for everyone to see. We're a nation of people who have been uneducated by intent.
Well, that's an understatement too. And you got to realize with these tandem net advances, the deed of trust was paid off up front. So anything recorded after the fact is pure and simple slander on title. Okay. In simpler terms, for those of you who are kind of scratching their head to everything I just said, okay, I'm going to just put it in real simple terms real quick. Okay. The duly appointed trustees are basically neglecting to meet their state licensing standards for a REMIC to be a foreclosing partner. Okay, this is significant because any business entity operating within the state under an undisclosed partnership, banking arrangement, or partnership arrangement where individuals are essentially being sold. Okay, I'm going to repeat this. The individuals are essentially being sold to fulfill the nation's obligations borrowed against their names. Okay, is essentially engaging in human trafficking of intellectual property, which is called slavery.
Exactly. Well, ladies, this has been a wonderful pie that we've baked up here.
It's virtue pie. Good.
Basically, foreign investor pie, slicing and dicing. We are not eating it. We are not letting you take our country.
It just stinks to high hell. We ain't gonna touch that thing.
And LeeAnn, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're always a pleasure. My plant is still beautiful. Thank you very much. It's delightful. It's beautiful, just like you.
And for those listeners out there who participated in all these little title wars, hey, we're just the messengers of divine will. Okay, these unfolding events as they transpire, they carry a significance that transcends much of the populace understanding. And we're in a moment at a precipice, and I feel that we're in a divine intervention, where the outcome that we're going to get is guided by much higher players than any of us here tonight. So for you players out there that have been participating in this, what you all are going to be facing in the days, weeks, and month ahead, well, your fate is already sealed.
It's called a pie in the face.
No, it's called sealed indictment. Yeah. Okay, and these court bookings as it pertains to a person's life, okay, it makes what's about to happen biblical. And
you mean it's not just going to be pie in the sky?
Good one, LeeAnn.
Sorry. It was just too good to be true.
Well, Semper Supra. You never know what's happening in that sky of ours. And that's something none of us can stop,
We make a lot of pies.
My advice to those guys, those players out there, under these colorful presumptions of law, just pray.
Okay, and with that, we want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And let's stay vigilant in our efforts here, because it takes all of us. We need to end the invasion and laundering of our lands. And so join us next week. Episode 3 is going to be the final of season 2 of Whistleblower Pie, season 2. And this is where we're going to round it all up, and we're going to serve you secure pie. And secure is not the name of an adjective here. It's not we're securing something. This is the secure recordation software platform that's owned by San Diego, LA, Riverside, and San Diego or Orange County.
Yeah,
and
all these REO locations are selling through the courts.
And that's where it all comes to. And we're going to discuss that system a lot more detail. We're going to give you a little more private sojourner on chat. Honey, hang on till next week, because we're going to wrap it in a bow for you. We're going to talk about FOIA requests, the OSIM bonds you're talking about in chat. We're going to talk about that. We've been doing a lot of work on that end. And that pie is about to be served up. So we will discuss how the software interfaces with all platforms, including
timing devices and triggering mechanisms.
Yes, the Department of Defense, the Dominion software, utilities. Yes, your utilities, like we're talking about tonight. Law enforcement, the banks, MERS, title companies, galore, destroying our homeland security and stripping America of America, and stripping us of our dreams, of our owning our land and being secure in that land. And you heard what Linda had to say. She's going to go into a little more detail next week. But it's all about, what do we say? This is a whole show that wouldn't have to happen if it wasn't for the dirty deeds in the land records, which are the crime scenes of America. So Private Sojourner, Joanne, love you, sis. Thank you for joining us in chat. Renee Wyler, you're always a go-getter, and you're very amazing.
Yes.
Faith, I couldn't ask for a better partner on the show tonight. And we are, Linda, thank you for everything you do. You are part of my day and part of my every night dreams, to thank God for you. So LeeAnn, you and your hubby have a great night, and much love to everyone listening, and join us next week, because Mikhail Trubchik, you may have taken my title, but you're not taking the whole pie.
That's
I'm
right.
Oh, they're
We
going to get
love
such pie in their face, Billy, when they tell them that we have the timing devices that actually show a date prior to the 30 years disclosed on the contract.
And maybe we
That's
already
exactly
have
what
the
Mom-
documents that show that Allrise was already dealing with Beijing Bitman. They didn't just show up. Oh, God, these people think we're stupid, don't they, Faith? But we're not. We're just goofy, weird old broads who would not even be doing this if it wasn't for you stealing our pieces of
I
art.
know nothing. Everything comes from above. It's his glory, not mine. I'm gone.
Yeah, I'm gone. Good night.
Oh, thank you, Billy.
You're welcome,
And
dear.
Good night.
Shalom, shalom.